10 years ago, Mike Randall was one of the most famous athletes on earth. He was tall, strong, and fast. People called him the Rocket Man because no one could catch him on the football field. Fans filled stadiums just to watch him play. Kids wore his jersey. Reporters followed him everywhere. He was the all-American star, loved by the public, and even known on other planets where Earth sports were broadcasted. But fame is a dangerous thing when it grows too fast. Mike was young and proud. He believed he could never fall. But one mistake changed everything. During the final game of the Interplanetary Football Championship, Mike got into a fight. Not with another player, but with a referee. The call had been unfair, and Mike lost his temper. He shouted in front of thousands of cameras. He pushed the ref. The footage went viral in seconds. The Interplanetary Sports Council banned him for life. His sponsors dropped him the same day. News channels turned on him. Former fans called him a disgrace. His bright future turned dark overnight. Mike Randall disappeared from public life. For the next 10 years, Mike lived a simple, quiet life on Port Nova, a massive space station near Jupiter. It was a place full of ships, shops, and alien tourists. No one there cared about football or fame. Mike found a job cleaning star yachts. He worked under a small alien company that took care of luxury ships. Every morning, he woke up before sunrise. He wore a simple jumpsuit, took his bucket, and walked to the docks. Most days, the owners of the yachts didn't even see him. Sometimes, they left trash on the floor. Other times, they gave orders like he was a machine. Mike said nothing. He just worked. His hands were rough. His back ached. His muscles had grown soft. The cheers from the stadiums were only echoes now, bouncing in the back of his mind. One day, as Mike scrubbed the side of a bright silver yacht, a voice behind him sighed, "You move like a warrior." Mike turned. The speaker was not human. He stood 7 feet tall with dark red skin and sharp black eyes. His armor looked old and battle-scarred. "I'm not a warrior," Mike said, dipping his sponge back into the bucket. "I just clean ships." Now, the alien stepped closer. "My name is Kirill. I am a scout from the planet Tarnak. We respect those who fight with honor and strength." Mike didn't look up. "You've got the wrong guy." Kirill tilted his head. "I've watched you for 2 days. You carry yourself like someone who knows pain, and you never stop working. Even when others laugh at you." Mike gave a tired smile. "I'm just doing my job." But something in Kirill's eyes told Mike this wasn't a normal conversation. Kirill spoke again, softer this time. "Have you heard of the Gauntlet of Worlds?" Mike shook his head. "It is an ancient challenge," Kirill said. "Each cycle, warriors from across the galaxy come to compete. Not for money, not for fame, but for honor. No human has ever entered. Not one." Mike leaned back, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I believe you can win," Mike laughed. "Me? Look at me. I haven't trained in years. I clean ships and eat protein bars, that's all." Kirill didn't smile. "The gauntlet is not just about strength. It tests mind, body, and will. I've seen strong creatures break in the first round. But you've already survived your greatest defeat. You are still standing. That is rare." Mike grew quiet. The idea sounded crazy. Compete in a galactic challenge? After all these years, but in his chest something stirred. A part of him he thought had died long ago. The part that used to run across the field with the whole world watching. Later that night, Mike sat alone in his small metal room. The lights were dim. Outside the window, stars blinked silently. He looked at an old photo on the wall, him in his football uniform, smiling, holding a golden trophy. His teammates stood around him, cheering. He remembered that day, the victory, the noise, the feeling that he could do anything. He also remembered the day he lost it all. He closed his eyes. The silence of the room pressed in. But Coral's words came back to him. You've already survived your greatest defeat. You are still standing. Maybe this was his chance not to get back fame, but to find something even greater. Purpose. Mike stood up. His body was stiff, but his heart felt lighter. He would meet Coral the next day. In the morning, Mike waited at the same spot where they had spoken. Sure enough, Coral arrived. I'm in, Mike said simply. Coral nodded. Good, training begins. Tomorrow, you will need everything you've got. Mike smiled for the first time in a long time. The man who had once ruled the football field had fallen. But now, step by step, he was rising again. Not as a player, as a warrior. The next day, Mike Randall followed Coral through the metal halls of Port Nova. The space station was always noisy, ships landing, traders shouting, alien tourists walking in groups. But today, Mike felt quiet inside, focused, something inside him had changed. They reached Dock 19, a darker area with fewer lights and no crowd. A small gray ship waited there, with sharp wings and red markings. It didn't look like a rich man's yacht. It looked like a warrior's tool. Coral pressed a button and the ramp lowered. Welcome to the Stone Fang, he said. Mike stepped. Inside, the ship smelled of metal and oil. No decorations. No soft seats. Just strong walls and weapons locked into racks. You live here? Mike asked. For now, Coral answered. I travel from world to world, looking for worthy ones. Mike raised an eyebrow. And you think I'm worthy? Coral looked at him. I do. The ship lifted into space with a soft hum. Stars moved outside the windows. Mike sat in a metal chair, his back straight. He was nervous, but he didn't show it. Tell me about the gauntlet, he said. Coral nodded. It is a challenge created thousands of years ago. A test for the strongest beings in the galaxy. Every 5 cycles, warriors are chosen. They compete across 10 deadly stages. Strength, speed, thinking, survival. It tests everything. Mike leaned forward. What happens if you win? You earn the title of Galactic Champion. That title brings honor not just to you, but to your planet. And no human has ever come close. Mike smiled a little. That sounds like a record worth breaking. Coral's eyes glowed with interest. Yes, but it will not be easy. A few hours later, they landed on a hidden moon called Xeric 4. The sky was red, and the land was full of rocks and dust. A tall training building stood in the middle of the empty land. Alien ships were parked around it. As they walked toward the gate, Mike saw creatures he had never imagined. A tall blue being with 6 legs ran up a wall like a spider. A green-skinned fighter lifted a stone twice his size with one hand. A small, quiet creature floated in the air, its eyes glowing with power. They're all training for the gauntlet? Mike asked. Yes, Coral said. These are the champions of their worlds. You will train with them. Mike felt the weight of it now. He was not just an ex-football star anymore. He was Earth's only representative. Inside the training center, the floor was warm and solid. The walls were lined with strange weapons, obstacle courses, and battle rings. Alien fighters trained in pairs, moving fast, sweating, shouting in their own languages. Koril showed Mike a small room with a bed and training clothes. This will be your space. We begin at sunrise. That night, Mike didn't sleep much. He stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything. 10 years ago, he was famous. Then he fell. Now he had a chance to do something even greater. But the road ahead looked hard. Still, he was here. He was ready. The next morning, the training began. Mike stood on a dirt field under a red sky. Other fighters formed a circle. All eyes turned to him. Some stared with curiosity, others with doubt. Koril introduced him. This is Mike Randall. He will fight for Earth. A loud laugh broke the silence. It came from a large, reptile-like alien with 4 arms and sharp teeth. His skin was dark green, and he wore heavy armor. I am Vorak, champion of Varnak Prime, the alien growled. This human is small. He will not last one day. The others laughed. Mike stayed calm. He didn't respond. He knew how to deal with trash talk. He had heard it all during his football days. Coral raised his hand. Words mean nothing here, only actions. Training was tough. Mike ran uphill with weights on his back. He climbed rock towers with his bare hands. He fought practice battles with creatures faster and stronger than him. He lost many times. He fell. He bled. He gasped for air, but he never gave up. Other trainees began to notice. While Vorak still mocked him, some of the others watched him with respect. Mike learned quickly. He didn't fight with brute strength. He used strategy, dodging, timing, and thinking like a player on the field. He turned pain into progress. Coral trained him personally every evening. You don't need to match their size, Coral said. You must use your own gifts. Think like a human. Mike nodded. I used to play football. Every play was about reading the field, using angles, making quick moves. Good, Coral said. Then make this battlefield your new field. 1. Evening, Mike sat alone on a hill, watching the alien sun set. His muscles ached. His hands were bruised, but he smiled. He hadn't felt this alive in years. From behind, someone walked up. It was a female alien named Relo. She had light skin that shimmered and eyes like stars. You fight well, she said. Mike nodded. Still learning. You are different from the others, Relo said. Most come here full of pride. You come with fire in your heart. Mike looked up at the sky. I made a mistake long ago. I lost everything. But maybe this time I can build something better. Relo placed a hand on his shoulder. Then fight not just to win, fight to become more. The next day, the announcement came. The gauntlet would begin in 2 weeks. Mike had only a short time to become ready. But he was not afraid. He had already walked through fire. Now, it was time to rise, not as a player, not as a cleaner, but as a warrior for all of Earth. The red sun of Zurich 4 rose over the rocky hills, spreading light over the training ground. The air was dry. Dust floated with every step. On that land, giants trained. Mike Randall stood among them. He looked smaller than most fighters, shorter than the long-legged spider beings, thinner than the four-armed warriors, and slower than the winged creatures. But his heart was steady. His eyes were sharp. His mind was awake. It was his 3rd week of training, and every day had tested him to the edge. But he never gave up. The morning began with a run across the fire plains. The land was hot and full of small lava cracks. The alien champions ran with speed and grace. Mike ran behind them, sweating, breathing hard, legs burning. Keep going, Earthman. One of them shouted, You're only 10 steps behind. Mike pushed harder. Then I'll take 11, he muttered. When he reached the end, Coral was waiting. The Tarnak warrior held out a water flask. You're improving, Coral said. But today will be harder. Mike drank and nodded. I didn't come here for easy. Next was the combat pit. 2 fighters entered the circle. Only one walked out. Mike stepped in. His opponent was a beast-like alien named Grun, a warrior from a jungle world. Grun had thick arms and sharp claws. His chest was like a wall. The fight began. Grun charged fast, swinging wide. Mike ducked, dodged, and rolled. He didn't fight with brute force. He used his old skills, footwork from football, timing from drills, and the calm mind of a quarterback. He waited. Grun rushed again, trying to crush him. Mike sidestepped, used Grun's weight against him, and pushed with both hands. Grun fell outside the ring. Cheers rose from the watchers. Mike had Juan Varak watched from the side, arms crossed. The giant lizard-like warrior didn't clap. His eyes were cold. Later, during weapons training, Vorak walked over. You won a match, he said, voice low. But one win does not make you a warrior. Mike wiped sweat from his forehead. You're right, but every win brings me one step closer. Vorak narrowed his eyes. You're lucky now. But when we face each other, luck will run out. Mike gave a small smile. Then I'll use skill. Vorak snorted and walked away. The next task was the mental tower. It wasn't about strength or speed. It was about focus and memory. A floating maze full of puzzles waited inside. Many warriors failed here. Mike stepped in. The maze changed as he walked. Paths moved. Walls twisted. Lights blinked. Voices whispered. His mind felt heavy, but Mike remembered his old coach's words. Think clear. One step at a time. He calmed. His breath, he focused. He solved the puzzles slowly, using logic and pattern. He reached the top after 2 hours. Coral waited there with a rare smile. You're not just muscle, Coral said. You think like a leader. Mike looked at the sky. Football taught me something. You win with your head, not just your hands. That night, as the stars filled the sky, Mike sat with Relo and a few others. They shared food, laughed, and told stories of their homeworlds. Mike spoke of Earth, of green fields, big cities, football games, and cheering crowds. The others listened with interest. No one ever told us much about Earth, said a floating creature named Zine. We thought your kind was weak. Mike shrugged. Some are, but some just haven't had their chance yet. They looked at him with quiet respect. The next morning, something different happened. Kirill called all the fighters to the battle hall. There will be a test, he said. Not part of the gauntlet, but a real challenge. A surprise duel. Whispers spread through the crowd. Kirill raised a hand. Mike Randall, Vorak, step forward. Mike's heart jumped. He looked at Vorak. The 4-armed warrior was already smiling. This is what I wanted, Vorak said. Now you will see what true power looks like. Mike stepped into the ring. The duel was watched by everyone. It began fast. Vorak charged. With a roar, swinging 2 fists while the other 2 guarded. Mike moved back, blocked, rolled, and struck low. But Vorak was stronger than anyone Mike had faced. A heavy punch hit Mike's side. He fell. Pain filled his chest, but he stood. Again, Vorak laughed. You should stay down. Mike raised his fists. Not a chance. They fought again. Mike used speed, angles, and tricks. He remembered football drills, quick turns, fakes, bursts. He ducked, jumped, slid under Vorak's swing, and kicked the back of his knee. Vorak dropped. Mike jumped forward and aimed a strong hit at Vorak's chest. The giant rolled away and stood. They both breathed. Hard. Blood dripped from Mike's nose. Vorak's leg was shaking. Kirill stepped in. Enough. This was not a fight to the death. It was a test. Silence, then claps. Even some of Vorak's friends clapped. Mike looked at Vorak. You said luck would run out. I didn't use luck. Vorak gave a short nod. You fought well. Better than I expected. Mike smiled. That was enough. Later, Kirill met Mike alone. You have changed, he said. You came here as a fallen man, but now you stand tall. Mike looked at his hands. They were bruised, scarred, but strong. I lost everything once, he said. Now I'm building something new, not fame, not trophies, just purpose. Kirill nodded. And purpose is stronger than pride. As the sun set on Xeric 4, Mike walked through the training ground, passing warriors from many worlds. They no longer looked at him with doubt. They looked at him with respect. The gauntlet of worlds was coming soon. Mike Randall, once a disgraced star, once a forgotten cleaner, was now a true warrior among giants, and he was ready. The red winds of Xeric 4 howled across the open training ground. The final sun before the gauntlet of worlds cast long shadows across the cracked ground. Warriors sharpened their weapons. Some meditated. Others did last-minute training. Mike Randall sat quietly on a rock, eyes closed, hands resting on his knees. His body still ached from the duel with Vorak, but his heart was steady. In just 2 days, he would face the greatest test of his life. Not on a football field, but across battlefields of 10 alien worlds. He was no longer just a man who had fallen. He was rising. Coral approached silently. "You have come far, Mike," he said. Mike opened his eyes and smiled. "You sound surprised." Coral shook his head, not surprised. "Pleased. Few humans could survive here. Fewer would try." Mike looked up at the sky. "For 10 years, I cleaned ships. Every day I thought I had no value, but I was wrong. I just needed something worth fighting for." Coral placed a hand on his shoulder. "The gauntlet begins soon, but first." "One last test." Mike stood. "What kind of test?" Coral looked toward the mountains. "One that will show you who you truly are." They walked for 2 hours, leaving the training center behind. The land became rough, sharp rocks, deep cracks, and sudden cliffs. At the top of a hill, a flat stone platform waited. On it stood Vorak. Mike blinked. "Him again?" Coral nodded. "He has requested a rematch, not for anger, but for truth. He wishes to know who truly deserves to stand in the gauntlet." Mike sighed. "All right, let's finish it." The wind blew strong. Dust swirled around their feet. The 2 fighters stepped into the circle. The sky darkened. The setting sun painted the world in orange and gold. Vorak spoke first. "You are strong, Earthman. Stronger than I believed. But I must face you again. Not for revenge. For respect." Mike nodded. "Then let's give it our best." No one else watched. No crowd. No noise. Just 2 warriors and a test of will. The fight began. Vorak moved with power. His forearms struck like hammers. Mike dodged, rolled, and hit back with speed. He was lighter, quicker, and more clever. They moved across the stone like dancers in a storm fast. Sharp, never stopping. Mike used his football footwork, sidesteps, spins, low tackles. Vorak used his strength grabs, throws, and crushing blows. For a long time, neither gave in. Then Mike saw an opening. He dropped low, rolled under Vorak's arms, and jumped high, landing a hard elbow to the side of Vorak's head. The giant stumbled. Mike followed with a flying kick, knocking him to the ground. Silence. Vorak lay still, breathing hard. Then he laughed. He pushed himself up and stood tall. "You win, again." Mike helped him up. "You are not just a fighter," Vorak said. "You are a leader, maybe even a legend." Mike gave a humble smile. "I just don't want to fall again." That night, the camp celebrated. Warriors from different planets shared food, songs, and stories. Even Vorak joined Mike's table. Relo smiled as she sat beside Mike. "Tomorrow, you enter the gauntlet. Are you ready?" Mike looked at the stars. "Ready as I'll ever be." She placed something in his hand, a small metal pin shaped like a flame. "This is the fire token. My people give it to those who rise after falling." Mike turned it in his fingers. It felt warm, real, powerful. "Thank you," he said. Later, Mike stood alone outside his room. He looked up at the sky and remembered his past. The roaring stadiums. The day he lost it all. The silence of cleaning ships alone. And now, the chance to become something new. He touched the fire token again and whispered, "I'm not that broken man anymore." The next morning came fast. A silver shuttle waited at the edge of the training ground. Warriors lined up, dressed in their chosen gear. Mike wore simple armor, lightweight, flexible, with Earth's flag on his shoulder. Coral met him at the shuttle door. "This is it, the gauntlet of worlds. Once you enter, there's no turning back." Mike smiled. "Good, I don't want to turn back." Coral handed him a thin wristband. "This will guide you through each challenge. It tracks your progress. It also broadcasts your actions live across the galaxy." Mike raised an eyebrow. So people are watching? Millions, Coral said. Perhaps billions. You will carry Earth's name on your back. Mike fastened the band. Then let's show them what a human can do. The shuttle lifted off. Inside, the champions sat in silence. Some meditated. Some stared ahead with cold focus. Mike closed his eyes. He saw a younger version of himself full of pride, fame, and ego. Then he saw the man he became forgotten. Silent, cleaning ships under alien skies, and now he saw the warrior he was today. Humble, strong, alive. The fire in him had returned. Not for fame, not for glory, but for purpose. The ship slowed. Lights blinked. A voice spoke through the speaker. Welcome, champions. The gauntlet begins now. Mike stood with the others. The door opened. A bright white light poured in. Mike stepped forward. Into the unknown, heart steady, eyes sharp. He was no longer just Mike Randall, the disgraced football star. He was Earth's champion, and his journey had just begun. The silver shuttle flew through a glowing tunnel of light. Inside, all the warriors stood silently. No one spoke. The tension could be felt in the air. Everyone was thinking the same thing. The gauntlet of worlds was about to begin. Mike Randall stood near the back of the shuttle. His fists were clenched. His breath was steady. His heart beat like a drum in his chest. He had come a long way. Once a hero, then a disgrace, then forgotten. And now, once again, a fighter with Earth's name on his back. The shuttle stopped with a soft thud. The door slid open, and bright white light spilled in. A voice spoke from above. Welcome, champions. You have reached the first world, Graven 6. Prepare for your first trial, the gravity pit. Mike stepped out into a wide-open arena. The sky was dark blue, with 2 moons glowing above. The ground was made of shining black stone. But something felt strange. He took a step and nearly fell. His legs were heavy. His feet sank into the floor with each step. Gravity here is 10 times heavier than normal, the voice said. Only those with control and endurance will survive. Around Mike, other warriors struggled too. Some dropped to one knee. Others groaned in pain. Mike gritted his teeth. This is nothing compared to cleaning ships for 10 years, he thought. He focused on his breathing. He remembered his old football training, how to run with weights on, how to keep his balance. Slowly, step by step, he moved forward. The task was simple. Reach the center of the arena before time runs out. But with this gravity, every movement felt like lifting a mountain. Mike saw one creature, tall and thin, collapse from the weight. A flying alien tried to rise, but its wings were useless. Here, another warrior dragged himself forward, face full of pain. Mike pressed on. His muscles screamed. His arms trembled. But he kept going. Halfway through he tripped. He fell hard, face against the stone. The crowd watching from far-off screens gasped. Commentators whispered, "The human is down." But Mike pushed his hands against the floor. He remembered every insult. Every cold morning cleaning alien yachts. Every person who said he would never rise again. He stood, and then he walked. Then he ran. He reached the center just as the timer ended. A loud sound rang out. A deep voice said, "First challenge complete. You may proceed." Mike dropped to his knees, breathing heavily. He looked up at the sky and smiled. 1 down, he thought. 9 to go. The warriors were transported to the next world, Lumerous 9 amperes. World of floating platforms and bright lights. The trial was called the Puzzle Tower. Each warrior had to reach the top of a glowing tower. But the platforms moved, disappeared, or shocked anyone who stepped on the wrong one. It was not a test of strength, but of intelligence and focus. Mike stared at the tower. It reminded him of the games he played as a kid, timing jumps, choosing paths, and staying calm under pressure. One by one, warriors began to climb. Mike followed. At first, it went well. He watched carefully. He noticed patterns. He remembered each path. But then, halfway up, the lights changed. The platforms moved faster. Mike had to think quickly. He jumped left safe, then forward safe, then right shock. He cried out as a sharp zap hit his leg. He fell down 2 levels. But he held on. He climbed back up. Pain didn't matter. Failure didn't scare him. This wasn't just a game. It was proof. Proof that a human could adapt, that a human could rise. Mike reached the top just behind 3 others. Coral's voice came through his wristband. Well done, you are still in the top 5. Mike smiled. Next came Thorna's 2. A jungle world full of danger. The challenge was survival. Each warrior was dropped deep into the forest. The task was simple. Survive for 24 hours. No weapons. No team, just instincts. Mike landed on soft green moss. Trees rose high above, and strange creatures moved through the branches. The air was thick and hot. He stayed low. Quiet. Careful. At night, glowing eyes followed him. One creature tried to attack, but Mike used a sharp stick to scare it off. He built a shelter using branches. He drank from a clear stream. He wrapped a leaf around a cut on his arm. By the next day, he was tired, dirty, and sore, but alive. Beam of light came down and lifted him back to the platform. Survivors will move to the next stage. Mike looked around. Only 7 remained. He had outlasted many stronger creatures because he had one thing they didn't single quotes t. Will. Now came the 4th challenge, the arena duel. It was simple, one-on-one combat. Winner moves forward. Loser is out. Mike was nervous. He wasn't the strongest, but he had trained hard. He had learned to use his brain. The opponent's name was Rocker, a warrior from a lava world. His armor glowed with heat. His eyes burned like fire. The fight began. Raker came fast. Strong hits. Heavy strikes. Mike dodged, rolled, waited. He remembered Coral's words. Think like a human. Mike noticed the arena floor had cracks. He led Raker toward one. Then, with perfect timing, Mike faked a move and Raker stepped forward onto a loose tile. The tile broke. Raker stumbled. Mike used the chance, jumped forward, kicked hard, and knocked Raker down. The arena went silent. Then cheers. Even the alien commentators spoke with respect. The human wins again. Unbelievable. After the fight, Mike sat alone in the waiting room. His hands trembled, but his heart was calm. He had passed 4 stages. 6 more remained. He was not the biggest. Not the fastest. Not the most dangerous, but he was still standing, still fighting, still rising. Far away, on Earth, news channels began reporting his name again. Children watched with wide eyes. Old fans remembered his fall, but now they saw something else. A man who never gave up. A man who rose again. And the galaxy was starting to believe in the power of a human heart. Months had passed since Mike Randall won the Galactic Championship. His name was now known across thousands of planets. On Earth, statues were built in his honor. Kids wore jerseys with his name. News channels played his final match again and again. People no longer called him a disgrace. They called him a legend. But Mike never let fame change him. He still woke up early. He still trained every day. And sometimes, when no one was watching, he would stand at the edge of the spaceship platform, looking at the stars, remembering the 10 years he spent cleaning yachts. That time had changed him. It had made him stronger from the inside. One morning, Coral met Mike at the training hall on Xeric 4. The sky outside was dark red, and the wind carried the smell of burning stone. Mike, Coral said, the Galactic Council wants to speak with you. Mike raised an eyebrow. What for? Coral smiled. They want to offer you something more than just medals and praise. Later that day, inside the great hall of the council, Mike stood before leaders of different worlds. Some were tall and glowing. others small and covered in silver shells. A few looked like moving clouds, but they all respected Mike. One elder, named Sona, stepped forward. "Mike Randall," she said, "you have shown us the strength and spirit of humanity. You did not only fight, you inspired. You reminded us why. We created the Gauntlet of Worlds." Another council member added, "We wish to ask you something very important." Mike nodded, "I'm listening." Sona said, "We want you to lead the Earth team for the next gauntlet. Not just as a fighter, but as a mentor, teacher, and symbol of Earth's rise." Mike was silent for a moment. He had fought his own battles. He had climbed out of the shadows. But now, they were asking him to lift others. He smiled. "I accept." Back on Earth, news of Mike's new role spread fast. A special training center was built in the mountains of Nepal, high above the clouds. There, young men and women came from every country, hopefuls who wanted to follow in Mike's footsteps. Some were strong, some were smart, some had no training at all, but they all had one thing in common: a fire inside. Mike welcomed them all. He trained them with the same honesty Kirill had once shown him. No shortcuts, no lies, just truth, sweat, and growth. Among the new students was a quiet boy named Tariq. He was thin, not very strong, and often fell behind. But he kept getting up. One day, after a long session, Mike saw him practicing alone in the dark. "You don't give up, do you?" Mike asked. Tariq shook his head. "I can't. People back home are counting on me," Mike smiled. "I know that feeling." From that day, Mike trained Tariq personally. He saw something in the boy, a fire like his own. As the next gauntlet approached, the new Earth team was ready. They were still young, still untested, but they had something no other team had: Mike Randall's spirit. When the team entered the space arena, thousands of fans from Earth and other worlds cheered. And when the camera showed Mike standing behind them, now wearing the black and silver coach uniform of Earth, the cheers grew even louder. He wasn't just a player anymore. He was a leader. During the matches, Mike watched every move. He guided his team calmly, offering advice, support, and belief. Sometimes they won, sometimes they lost, but they always got back up. And in the final round, it was Tariq who faced the last challenge. His opponent was faster, stronger, bigger, but Tariq remembered what Mike had taught him: stay low, stay sharp, never panic, never stop. The match was hard. Tariq fell twice, but in the final seconds, he used a trick Mike had once shown him: a sidestep, a fake punch, and a low tackle. The crowd gasped. The opponent fell. Tariq won. Mike's eyes filled with quiet pride. He didn't cheer loudly. He just nodded. Tariq ran up to him after the match, holding the new trophy. "I did it," he said. Mike smiled. "No, we did it." Back on Earth, the celebrations were bigger than ever. Mike was honored once again this time, not just as a champion, but as a builder of champions. Years later, his story would be taught in schools. Books would be written, but the truth was simple. He had once been broken. He had once been forgotten, but he never gave up. And in the end, he gave the world something more than just victories. He gave them hope. In his small home by the sea, Mike hung his first football jersey next to a picture of the galactic arena. Below them, he placed a small sign. It read, "The fire never dies." The air inside the arena was quiet, heavy with tension. Bright lights shined down from above. The floor was smooth and silver, marked with glowing blue lines. Giant screens showed the face of each finalist. Only 3 warriors remained in the Gauntlet of Worlds. One of them was Mike Randall, the human from Earth. No one had expected him to make it this far. Not the fans, not the commentators, not even some of the other champions. But Mike had passed every test: strength, strategy, survival, and speed. He had proven one thing again and again: he would never quit. Coral stood at the edge of the arena platform, looking at Mike with pride. You have come further than any human in history, Coral said. No matter what happens now, Earth will remember your name. Mike smiled. I didn't come this far just to be remembered. I came to finish. Coral nodded. Then be ready. Your final opponent is waiting. The arena darkened. A loud voice echoed through the chamber. Final match, Mike Randall of Earth versus Vorak of Varnak Prime. Gasps filled the air. The crowd on distant worlds leaned forward in their seats. Even the galactic commentators fell silent for a moment. Mike stood tall. He remembered the training. Days on Zrak-4. He remembered the first time he faced Vorak, the four-armed warrior who once laughed at him. They had fought before in practice. Mike had won that time, but this was different. This was the final match. Vorak entered the arena from the other side, his armor shining under the lights. He looked bigger than before, stronger, focused, but his eyes held no hate, only respect. Told you we would meet again, Vorak said, his deep voice calm. Mike nodded. This time, we both know what's at stake. Vorak stepped forward. Win or lose, you've earned your place here. But I won't go easy, Mike smiled. I wouldn't want you to. The voice announced, begin. The battle started fast. Vorak rushed forward, using all four arms to strike. His moves were powerful, sharp, and fast. Mike dodged, rolled, and countered with precise kicks and punches. Every strike echoed across the arena. Mike used his speed. He stayed low, moved fast, and struck with careful timing. He had no super strength, but he had something better: experience, control, and will. Vorak swung wide. Mike ducked. Vorak punched down. Mike jumped sideways and landed a strong blow, too. Vorak sighed. The crowd cheered. But the battle wasn't over. Vorak roared and lifted Mike off the ground. He slammed him down. The floor shook. Mike gasped for breath. Pain ran through his back, but he remembered the days when he scrubbed alien ships with aching muscles. He remembered the shame of being forgotten. He remembered why he had come here. To rise. He rolled away, stood again, and raised his fists. The crowd grew louder. Even the commentators began to shout. The human still stands. He's not done yet. The match continued. Every second felt longer than the last. Mike took hits. But he never stayed down. He gave hits. And everyone landed with purpose. Then, as Vorak rushed forward with a heavy punch, Mike saw it. A small mistake. Vorak's foot was off balance. Just a little, but enough. Mike turned, twisted his body, and used a perfect tackle, just like in his football days. His shoulder hit Vorak's side. The big warrior lost his balance. Vorak stumbled. Mike followed with a spinning kick to the chest. Vorak crashed to the floor. Silence. Then, victory. Mike Randall. The arena exploded with sound, cheers, lights, fireworks in the sky. Mike stood in the center of the arena, breathing hard, covered in dust and sweat. But his eyes were full of light. He had done it. He had won. Vorak slowly got up. He walked to Mike and placed one of his big hands on Mike's shoulder. You are the strongest human I've ever met, Vorak said. And one of the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Mike smiled. That means a lot, coming from you. They bowed to each other. The crowd loved it. Soon after, Coral entered the arena, holding a silver crown with blue gems. He placed it on Mike's head. You are now the Galactic Champion. Cameras from across the galaxy zoomed in. On Earth, people cheered in every city. Kids jumped with joy. Old fans wiped tears from their eyes. Reporters said his name again, this time with pride. Mike Randall had gone from disgrace to legend. After the ceremony, Mike stood alone for a moment, looking at the stars above. He thought of his journey. He had once stood at the top of Earth's sports world. Then, he lost everything. He had spent 10 years in silence, cleaning other people's ships. And now, He had become something far greater than a player. He had become a symbol of human strength, spirit, and second chances. Later, Relo walked up to him. "You did it," she said, smiling. Mike nodded. "Not just for me. For Earth, for every person who thinks they're finished." She handed him a small box. "This was left for you." From Coral, Mike opened it. Inside was the fire token she had given him earlier, but now it was gold. A message was engraved on the back. "You rose from the ashes. You lit the fire again." As he stood there, the stars above shining bright, Mike Randall knew something deep in his heart. It's never too late to rise, not just for glory, not just for a title, but for something greater, for purpose, for hope, for the fire that never dies.